So we're going to try something short and quick, I hope, with some marshmallows. So we have some mini marshmallows. We bought a bunch of bags of them quite a while ago, specifically for freeze drying to do some experiments with. And we're down to just 3 bags because we ate them. And unfortunately, there's 2 different brands. So I can't do all the testing I was originally going to do, which was load the machine up and run it at different temperatures, consecutive batches, to see if there's any big difference between, for instance, 100 degree shelf temperature, 115 and 130. Well, since we're down to just 2 bags of one brand, it'd be awful small volumes to split into 3. So I may just do it in 2. Obviously, it's not going to all be full. I'll probably just use 1 tray or maybe split it into 2. So I've got the shelf temperature set to 100 right now, and we could zoom in on that. And then I'll do the other one at 130 to see if there's any big difference. Because we usually run just about everything at 120. If you raise the temperature, it will generally go faster, but you might have more change in the appearance of the food. For instance, if you're doing white onions, it might turn them a darker color. So you might want to use lower temperatures for some things, even though it'll take longer. Anyway, we'll get this started. So as I said, we usually run ours at 120 degree for the shelves. On this one, going to go down to 100 degrees, and then we'll either jump up to 130 or we'll do an intermediate one. Then we'll say start custom and continue. Marshmallows are a very low moisture food, I like that, snack. And so I don't have to defrost between that. So once I get it going, I can just do the next one right afterwards. And I think marshmallows, though they are light and fluffy, since I'm only going to do a single layer, they shouldn't take too long. So we're going to get it started, let it pre-cool for an hour or 2, make sure that it's really cold before we start, and then we'll be able to do the next batch immediately afterwards. So to try to keep these as even as possible, I'm going to take these 2 bags and mix them up in the bowl because they don't seem to be exactly the same anymore. I mean, they're way past the best if used by date is a year ago. They've started to dry out a bit, and that's going to make a difference. But it will still, if I do the batches the same, they will still be relative to each other. It still should give me useful information. Each of these bags are 10 ounces. I want to kind of break them apart a little bit. They've started to stick together, and that's going to be fine for what we're doing, as far as I know. I added just a couple of tablespoons of powdered sugar to this, gave them a bunch of tossing. Make sure that they're not stuck together, at least not too many. Now, let's get them on some trays. And I need to make sure that I don't use more than half of them because I want to save half for the next batch. So it said there should have been about 283 grams in one of these bags. I want to make sure that I save at least the same amount for each one. So I'm tearing that out so I can get them on there. And I want to make sure I just have a single layer for this test. So far, far less than I usually do. And as I mentioned, these are not fresh marshmallows, so that would make a difference also. But that's why I mix the 2 bags together so that I get the most average mix, basically. Okay, 200 grams. That's a little short. Let's trade out a little one for a big one. Okay, so 200 grams net weight. And that one is the jet puffed, and that's tray 2. Then I'll keep the other marshmallows in a zipper bag until it's their turn. It says 454 grams, so we can put 200 grams on this also. Oh, I better dump these into the bowl in case they're stuck together. These are a Winco brand, and some of these are stuck together also. All right, let's get 200 grams on this tray. And these are definitely bigger than the other ones. And any of them that are stuck together that I notice, I'll pull apart. Okay, 200 grams. And that one is the Winco brand. And I'll just put these back in the bag to wait for the next set. And I am going to stab one of the marshmallows on each tray, because it'll be kind of surrounded by the probe. I'm going to put it on tray 2 and 3, or rack space 2 and 3, which seems to be pretty close to identical. It's been pre-cooling for just about 3 hours, 2 hours and 56 minutes. It says that it's 43 below zero Fahrenheit. The thermometer touching the barrel inside there pretty close to agrees with that. It's just under 40 below. So now we can get them in there and check it. Well, that's already sealed. I didn't even have this closed, but because the ring is a perfect ring around there, the seal has a perfect ring around there, the fact that the valve was closed was keeping it shut. Okay, and this one's going to be on 2, and this one will be on 3. Okay, nice ring, good seal. With marshmallows, you really don't need to let them freeze, but I'm going to let it freeze for probably 1 hour, and that way I can duplicate it next time also. Want to make sure that they're all starting about the same point. With these, with the amount of moisture in it, the lack of moisture, and if you want them to puff up a little bit, it'd probably be better off not letting them cool. But I want to let them cool because I don't like my marshmallows to get too big and puffy. So we're going to see how it does at just 100 degrees this time. Never tried 100 degrees on marshmallows. We'll come back and check it in a while. It's been about an hour 20 minutes, and it says that it's negative 48. And because I don't have a disc in this one right now, the door gets fogged up. So that's showing negative 30, and that one's showing about negative 35. The barrel temperature is showing negative 40 still. We're going to go ahead and bypass that. So I had 3 hours. So that would be 2 hours of freeze. If I let it go to there, we'll let it go for another 18 minutes, and then it'll automatically start the main drying cycle. And then we'll see what these do with the 100-degree temperature.
Because the marshmallows are such a low moisture item, the machine has gone into the small batch cycle.
I'm not going to take them out right now because it's late and it's not quite warm enough inside the marshmallows. Let's see if we can see back in there. You can see they've popped up quite nicely.
Yeehaw!
So you can see it's been a ridiculously long time already. This test is only going to really be good to check the relative shape between this batch and the next batch at a different temperature. The thermometers in the marshmallows have been about 110 for quite a few hours already, but I wasn't ready to do anything with them. So this, as I said, this test is going to be no good as far as how long they take or anything like that. I'm just checking to see the sizes. So let's get them out of there. And I'm not even going to let them cool. This is saying that it's 102 degrees right now, 104. The heater's just turned off a minute ago and it's still swinging up because it overshoots a bit, which is why we end up at 110 degrees on there. So it's off a little bit. I should have taken that into account. But the next one's going to be 130, so we'll check it out. So I'm going to stop these and then just put the whole tray, well, as soon as I weigh it, and I'll put the tray into one of the gallon bags. So I keep a few of the gallon bags and they are also the gusseted bottom bags, so they hold a gallon. The main reason we have them is so when we buy the giant bag of tortilla strip things at Costco, which will go stale before we can possibly use that whole bag, we rebag them in a set of bags that we keep for that, and then we seal it and with an oxygen absorber in it, and they keep fresh for months and months that way. But that way we can still buy the giant Costco bag and reuse these bags. And even if we just zipper them, they still last better in these bags than they do in the original Costco bag. But anyway, that's why we have gallon bags. We haven't bagged our regular food in gallon bags in years. Not since we started using some of it and realized that gallon bags were way too big for us. Okay, we'll bypass the rest of that time and open the drain valve, and we'll get that open. Oh, gotta turn that. And we'll get them out. So tray 2 is the jet puffed ones. So it's 913. Dropped about 29 grams total. And we'll check them after we finish the other batch at a higher temperature so we can have a true comparison. For now, I'm just going to pop them in here. Yeah, so we got those in there, and I'm not going to bother with an oxygen absorber. I'm just going to zipper it shut because it won't be very long before we have the other batch. So I've got the top of that bag sealed, and we'll leave it like that. Get the other one out, 905. Okay, so I've got those numbers corrected by weighing that on the scale. So I'm going to get the machine reset for the next one so we can do another batch. So all I'm going to do is turn it off with no defrost, hit customize, turn the temperature up, and this time I'm going to go to 130 degrees, done, and start. Of course, it's already pretty cold in there. We're gonna give it an hour or two to make sure that it's as cold as it was for the first set, and then we're gonna let it run the same way as soon as we load the trays with the marshmallows. So we'll come back, check the marshmallows. In the meantime, these bags will just sit over there waiting for this set to be done, and then we can compare them side by side, see if there's any real difference between those two temperatures. The higher temperature will go faster, but unfortunately I wasn't prepared, so we're just doing one thing right now, just the temperature, and then visually how do they change. We'll be back when it's really cold. The freeze dryer's pre-cooled again, or back down to temperature, and has been for a while because I was busy doing other stuff. And it's got the condensation on it again because I don't have the disc in there because I'm trying out my sister's used seal, and her inside diameter is slightly smaller, so that disc doesn't fit in here. So at some point I'll probably put my disc, my seal back on so that I can use that disc again. Because you get a lot of condensation both on the seal and on the front. I get asked a lot of times, do you need that seal? No, you don't have to have the seal. But you might end up with some condensation if the machine is sitting here running for a while. You'll get some condensation, it'll drip off the front. If that's not a problem, then no, you don't need the disc. I do like it so that I can see in there and I don't have this fogging up when I first start, because even this fogging up will go away once the vacuum is pulled for a while, because then we won't be transmitting, or the cold won't be on the other side of this plastic. Well, it'll be cold, but there's no air to transmit it, so it's going to not be a problem. I've got the marshmallows reloaded the same way as last time. So I've got the jet puffed ones on tray 2 and the Winco brand on tray 3. Going to put them the same spots as before, and we'll get it started, and maybe we'll be able to see part of it. I don't know the timing. So, and as before, I'm going to let it continue freezing for a while before I let it start. So hopefully I can get a camera in there and we can watch the marshmallows a bit. I should have raised that one rack piece. I should go over that at some point. Anyway, we'll be back and check those, and then we can compare them to the other marshmallows, see if there's any difference at 100 degrees versus 130 degrees. And if it's like the other one, the temperature overrun will probably bring it closer to 140. We'll find out what happens. Okay, the heater's back on. It went zooming right past the 600 mark, right up into the 900s. The heater's on right now, so the temperature's going up. We're gonna get them out of there. It's been a bunch of hours now. These are already completed. I'm not checking on this temperature test for anything except for the final appearance of the two sets. I wasn't worried about does it go faster. It definitely does. I'm just want to see what they look like in comparison. So we're going to get these out of here and get them bagged because I can't do the comparison right now. It'll be a little bit later. So we'll be taking them back out of the bags later. Okay, so right now I'm going to down arrow past the rest of the time and then open the drain valve, get them out and check them. So again, I've got the bags labeled for what they are and the temperatures, so we'll have good comparisons, I hope. And currently the temperature is showing over 130 degrees, probably 135 to 140 degrees. 919. And these definitely look like they got a little bit bigger than the ones at 110 degrees. Those look great. And then the Winco brand ones, 911. For now, I'll get these sealed, and then we'll come back and compare them in a little while. Well, hopefully we can wrap this marshmallow video up real quick. I had meant to do this the next day, and now it's just over a month later. We're going to reopen these bags of marshmallows and compare them for size. And with that settings of the temperature difference, that's the only thing we're really looking at. We know that it's going to dry a little faster at the 130, but it could also affect the structure a little bit. So I'm sure glad I sealed these bags because, again, I didn't know it would take so long. So we're going to open them so we have them at the same time. And I'm just cutting off the seal portion of it. That's why I'm not tearing at the tear strip. That's why I like to seal them at the top, so I have room to seal them again if I want to just take a few out. I'm going to have some of the 100 degree ones on the right, and then we'll put the 130s on the left. And I'm just going to pour a few out to start with, and then we can kind of compare them, see if there's any obvious difference. Okay. And right off, I don't know if that one came from the other side. So right off we can see a difference. I mean, those are noticeably bigger and puffier. I was going to lay them out and measure them, but I don't even think we need to. That's plainly bigger on the one side. You can definitely tell the difference without doing any measuring or anything. These are puffier. They did a great job on both sides, but the 130 for these mini marshmallows definitely look a little nicer, actually. A little bit more rounded. Okay. Now, we'll put these away and check out the jet puffed ones. Let's get the Jet Puff brand and see if they did a similar thing. Okay, again, jet puffed 100-degree ones. And the jet puffed ones had more of a variation of size. So I was kind of surprised that the store brand ones had more similar size, less variation. Come on, stay over here. I think we're seeing the same type of relationship between the 100-degree and the 130-degree on this brand of marshmallows also. These seem a little bit rounded, a little bit more rounded, a little bit more puffed. Some of these are similar, but there's more of the smaller, less puffed ones. But there is a huge variation in the size of the marshmallow on the jet puffed, whereas the Winco brand were much more similar. So that's all I wanted to talk about on these marshmallows. They're wonderful little marshmallows. Bam. I'll get these all resealed for use in the future or for giving away to some of our friends that are really into the freeze-dried marshmallows. So we've got this test that was started also. I'll try to get to this within the next few days. These are just the dried beans that we're going to rehydrate to test to see what the effect of salt was as far as do they stay together. You can see this bag is all sucked in, and we'll see this in one of the next ones. And then I have a batch of freeze-dried mushrooms after this. So stay tuned, they'll be coming up soon.